Got it. Thanks so much, guys. Really great to be here and not be remote. So be here in the flesh. Great to see you. So we were talking about sales, and I thought it'd be great to look at the performance and break down our whole sales process. What works, what doesn't? Do you know how to analyze your sales process and see what works and what doesn't? Also then, is it possible then to formulate and actually create the science behind the art of sales? So let's start with a Mentimeter question. What's the first concern and your second concern when you think about growing your business through selling? Go back. Okay. It'll come up. Okay, this is my first time using Mentimeter. Right. Go to your app. I think there's a code up there, 669.
Type in the words.
And type in your words. Your first concern and your second concern when you think about your business and growing it through selling, finding prospects. And I believe the bigger one means that more of us have said that as a concept. Right. Dealing with stalling, rejection, leads, getting work, capacity. Yeah, cool, interesting. Time to market. Networks. Size of market. Oh, that's an interesting one. Oh, different topic we could talk about. Cool. Ideal pipeline, marketing, leads, relationship. Okay, very cool. Should I give you a few more minutes?
So you've got the numbers of participants right on the right-hand side bottom, so there's 26 and there's about 40 in here, so some people might not have access, it's fine.
Okay, got it. Okay, cool. I'm learning this Mentimeter piece. We're training on the role. Managing growth, relationships. Okay, great. Very good. Interesting. We're going to talk more about that. Some of the common things that we hear when we're talking with clients, and of course through this COVID time, there's been a lot of changes in this market, right? Is that we hear that sales are taking a lot longer. And I'd love to hear a show of hands who's experiencing that. Sales are taking a lot longer. Yep. There are more people in the process. So the process has changed. The decision-making process has changed. Yeah, okay. Building rapport remotely is harder. Yep. Okay, good. Losing against competition. A lot more competition. Okay. Worried about appearing too salesy. Okay, awesome, great. Okay, good. So I have another question for you. Your second Mentimeter. Go to your app. So what is the first word, and the second word, that comes up for you when you think of salespeople? Be honest. And it's in big letters. Multiple people have said it. Slimy, pushy, used car. Okay, great. Confident. Okay, interesting. We've got a couple of positive ones in there too. Insincere, manipulative. Awesome. Most of that is negative, apart from Jamie Patterson, of course. So there's no surprises when we've got this concept of selling that actually there is an innate piece in us where we don't want to integrate and we don't want to actually connect with salespeople. So I wanted to look at how, as prospects, we tend to keep people at arm's length. Have you considered all the strategies that we're using and the changes of strategies that we've adopted as a result of COVID and working remotely? So when you're thinking about buying something, what are some of the key strategies that you use to keep salespeople, those guys, at arm's length? Research, very good. What else? Online. We buy a whole lot online, right? Yeah? And then we had that in the last one of the Wendy's setup question, everything that we bought online. Like, let's not even deal with salespeople, yeah? What else? What other strategies? No eye contact, yeah. Or we turn off the video if it's remote, right? Oh, sorry, we can't. We're in the car at the moment. Yeah. Ghost. Yeah, love it. Ghosting.
No.
What's that?
The long no. Instead of just saying I'm not interested, just
Yeah.
drag on.
Because it's, yeah. Oh, it sounds good. And we're just going to drag it on. Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. So have you considered that there is actually a system there? And it's a subconscious, innate system that we all have, that we operate. I want to look at this. I want to deep dive into this. So have you guys experienced where a prospect appears interested as the first strategy? Then they act motivated. Once they've attained all that information that we're prepared to provide them, that's when the stalls and objections start to hit in. Yeah? And then they use strategies like stalls and objections to avoid commitment before they disappear, or ghost, as we commonly call it. Does that sound familiar? And the thing that we're seeing, through this whole COVID time is actually technology has made this so much easier for them to do it. So it's made sales even harder. So the other piece to that, there's another side, right? Which is, what are we doing in the sales process, not wanting to be pushy, not wanting to be CZ-SIME. So what we tend to do is we orient around fact-finding, analysis at the first step of the process. Then once we decide that we understand them, at least at a level, we start to share that information. Demos, presentations, proposals. Does this sound familiar? Right? And we've now committed quite a bit of time. We think we deserve to be able to ask for an order or ask for the business. That's when we start to request a close, maybe a contract, and some sort of commitment. That's when things start to feel or go downhill. Yeah? We start to then go, okay, we've got to handle those stalls and objections, and they disappear. And all we've got left is follow up, track them down, or maybe even discount, which we call begging for business. Does that sound familiar? Yeah? So obviously this is in the direct sales approach, not in a context of online sales. That's just another strategy. I'd love to just hear from a couple of you where that's sounding familiar before I go on. Yeah, you have that? All the time. Okay, cool. So let's look at this, right? Yeah.
Why are we running a selling strategy? Why aren't we aligning with their buying strategy?
Yeah, very good. Because this is absolutely why salespeople fail.
Sales strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love what you're saying, because one of the things I commonly say is I don't understand why people create business and then they go to market and then they have a client tell them how they should engage. Fundamentally flawed, right? What we should be doing is creating a business that we define and design the route to market. Yeah? But that's unfortunately what most people don't do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be the leading sales training company. So, why have a system? Because the prospect has theirs. And I think part of this, I know we have a bit of a laugh, right? A lot of people don't actually consider that actually prospects have got that system, and it is so incredibly innate and automatic. To the point of, if you think about this, how automatic this prospect system is, and the easiest way to demonstrate it is, what are the strategies you do if you're shooting the breeze, waiting to have a coffee meeting in the world of face-to-face meetings, and you just walk into a shop, you're spending some time. What do you do? What are the strategies you do? Do you engage with that salesperson?
Keep moving.
You keep moving. You keep moving, yep. And there's something we do which is so unconscious, and we all do it.
Avoid eye contact.
We avoid eye contact is the first thing. So we walk in there.
Depends if the salesperson's, like I use Bunnings as a good example, you can never find somebody. So if the salesperson is to provide assistance, then you will actually seek them out.
Of course.
If they're trying to sell you something, then maybe it's a different process.
Absolutely. That's right. So in an event where you're going in to just actually, shoot the breeze, you're like waiting for a meeting, you don't want to engage, right? We've got those automatic processes that kick in, and it literally is so subconscious. We will see as we're walking into the shop where that person is, and we will avoid eye contact and look at something over here. We all do it, right? Yeah? So that's how innate it is as a human being, which is amazing. So that's why salespeople fail, right? It's because we fall into those traps. So let's look at this. This is a beautiful and dangerous dance because we've got these systems that actually bounce off of each other. The buyer appears interested. We think that's great. And we go into fact-finding, analysis, job spec. They're acting motivated. We go, amazing. And that's when we invest more time. They get everything that we are prepared to give them, all that free consulting. We think that we've become friends along the way. And it's time that they can then also join us and we can sign a contract. And that's when it all goes pear-shaped. Avoid avoid commitment through all sorts of stalls and objections. We try and handle those objections. By that point, we've forecasted it. And so it's that slippery slide. And then they've gone into ghosting. And all we've got, they're using all the strategies. Voicemail in a meeting, no answer. And we've got to try and track them down and chase them. So this is the doom and gloom. Let's look at how we do something different. So we know what's broken in the way they sell. Well, first things first, we've got this competitive process. Is that fun? No, it's not fun, right? You can see how that process is why salespeople get burnt out. They don't want to do that. They're not being treated as a professional salesperson, like a professional, like a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer. They're being, pushed around. So there's something that's very broken in this process. So let's have a look at that. I want to just create an exercise to start to uncover where these areas of conflict are. Let's divide the room in half. So we'll take it here. You guys over there are that half and you're over that half. And we're going to get a little huddle going on. Your job in this exercise, right, is over here we've got the salespeople, okay? Over here we've got prospects, right? So you're the customer. The scenario is you both want to go into this meeting. So it's a meeting, you both want to go in. You've obviously had a pre-meeting, a pre-conversation to set up a discovery meeting. I would like to know from a salesperson's perspective, when you're chatting amongst yourself, and what are your expectations about the purpose of the meeting? What are your expectations about how long you're prepared to give? What are your expectations about your role? Sorry, salesperson, your salesperson, so their role. What are your expectations about the salesperson's role, and what are your expectations about the outcome from a salesperson's perspective, yeah? Clear? You guys are the potential buyer. What are your expectations about the purpose? How long are you prepared to give them for this meeting? What is your role? What is the salesperson's role? And what are the potential outcomes? I'm going to give you about 4 minutes to just huddle around, talk about that, and then I'm going to ask for some opinions, okay? Cool. Yeah, small groups. Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's bring it on back. Let's bring it on back. So I'm really keen to hear what you guys came up with. So how we'll play this out is I'll ask someone from this side of the room, so we've got our salespeople over here, to tell us one of the answers, and we'll ask someone from the client side. So let's talk about purpose. So from the salesperson side, what did you think the purpose of the meeting would be? Anyone want to nominate yourself?
First, seek to understand
Yep, seek to understand.
just everything you can about, the person, their needs, the background, why you're sitting there, etc., etc. And secondly, then try and build a rapport.
Great. Okay, very good. Over here from your customers.
Really, to seek to understand, you go in and you'll ask the buyer 1,000 questions, and they'll be burnt out. You need to do your research before you come to us and understand us probably better than we know ourselves, rather than me telling you, because once you've done that once or twice as a buyer, you get burnt out yourself.
Yeah.
So
So your purpose then would be, from your perspective, is you want them to come prepared, yeah,
know your
and
business.
to know your business.
Not know your product, know my business.
Okay, know your business. Very good. Okay, so notice the difference? Yeah? Okay, so time over here, someone else from a salesperson's perspective. How long would you want the meeting to be for?
Just the meeting or the engagement?
The meeting.
We didn't discuss that specifically.
We're talking
An
about
hour
the
or two.
engagement.
So 45 minutes to an hour or two. Customers. 15 minutes. And as little as possible.
As long as he's adding value.
Okay.
When he stops adding value, come out.
No more than an hour. I can keep them out beforehand. I've got a half an hour. Depends on how excited.
So the answer, so just so we can hear the answer, no more than an hour. If I can kick them out in half an hour, I've got an extra half an hour break. Now,
We
can
could cut it short here, Beck. We'll go to the pub because we've given a couple of hours up. They only want 30 minutes, so let's call it quits in there.
but the point is, can we see the competitive nature, right? Okay, salespeople over here, what do you see their role is? What is the buyer's role in this engagement or this conversation?
They're trying to suss you out as to whether there could be a good fit for whatever the challenge or problem that they might be wanting to resolve is.
Very good. And for you guys, sorry, was there something else over? They've got to listen. Okay. Yeah, so their role is to listen to us. I love this. This is so good. Thank you, Richard. This is so good. Okay, so from your perspective, what is your role?
To give them as much information without giving them too much information, so that I can assess with them whether they're the sort of person that is good enough to ask questions, so that they get to the nub of what my actual problems are.
Okay. Very good. Any other opinions of your role?
We came at it a bit different, I think, talking about my group. We said, we need to let them know what our problem is and see if they can solve that problem.
Okay, very good.
We didn't,
One of the frustrations is, if there's an agreement on budget right up front, then you don't waste each other's time. And I know that's difficult, but the buyer's role might be to articulate, this is kind of, the ballpark I have.
Okay. So your role then is to indicate a ballpark of budget so that you can know not to waste time. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Are we noticing it's different?
I reckon it goes
Yeah?
both ways, so around price. Is we're the same, we'll turn around and say, these are our minimum fees, can't afford them.
So that's great. So that's obviously your role in it. You're expecting then, as part of your role, to tell them what the minimum fees are. So you're not wasting time. Any other people's salesperson's role? Other opinions of your role?
Setting the expectations or the boundaries.
Setting expectations or boundaries?
Could convince them about value proposition.
Convince them about value proposition. Very good. Okay. Over here, what do you think the salesperson's role is?
Sell me the pen.
Sell me the pen.
Tell me the value.
Sell me the value.
I want to see that they understand, I want to see that they have probably dealt with a similar problem that I'm dealing with and what the outcome has been. for that
Okay.
person.
So you want evidence?
I want evidence.
Yeah, you want evidence. Great. Okay, again, guys, can we see the difference? Very combative process. Okay, over here, what do you as salespeople expect the outcome to be, or want the outcome to be of that conversation? We want the sale. Or we want to cut them off. You guys over here, as a customer, what do you want the outcome to be?
Proposal.
I want a proposal. We want information. Business outcome. Isn't it interesting? You know, we talked about that process before, where we want information to obtain that free consulting, that information that came out already. It's great. Okay, so the point of this exercise is, can we see that there is a difference of both of our expectations going into the situation? So that's a problem, right? Isn't that a problem? Yeah, because what it is it's actually set up for us to not have the trusted advisor relationship. So if we've got no plans, we've got no process, that affects our profit. So let's talk about the science as well as the art of selling. You know, I love sales. I'm a Kiwi from a little country town called Levin in New Zealand. And I was brought up in the back of retail shops, and my dad actually owned a building company. So we were a small business landscape and just love being in that customer service, customer-centric environment, which I've been in all my life. And so when I grew up, I always thought that it was a real art. But when I came to Sandler, I realized that there is actually a science to it. So let's talk about one of the concepts, which if you walk away with nothing else from today, this is an incredible concept. It's called being different, pattern interrupt. Our whole system is built on doing something different. Pattern interrupting that normal psychology of how we avoid eye contact as we walk into that shop. If you do something different in your sales process, then we're going to jolt them to actually be present and have a conversation with us. Agreed? Give you a concept of that. Just to show you in a normal conversation, I've seen a lot that retail shops are using it. I was walking down in Sydney a little while ago. It's a while ago now, but I was walking down the road and I was just walked along and I was like, what is that? And it was they had turned the spotlights into dogs. That total different concept of rather just a plain spotlight got my attention into that shop window. It's a pattern interrupt. In the same way, I went to these two shops and I could see these two shops side by side. And they were both just fast food shops. One of them had a sun umbrella in the shop, which is not designed for in the shop, right? I went over to the shop next door and I said, how's business been going? Because I knew exactly what had happened. That pattern interrupted by doing something totally different. So I said, how's business been going? And they said, it's terrible. And so I explained the concept of pattern interrupt to them about the sun umbrella, which automatically is unusual, so it jolts our attention there. And then they go, are you hungry? Yeah? So how do we use this in sales as a concept? We taught a stationery company, which is not a regular type of client for us, it was a referral, how to actually pattern interrupt in their sales process and their prospecting process. And what they did is they used to do walk-in cold calls where they'd walk up to the receptionist and they'll go, hey, we're from ABC Stationery Company. Do you mind if we have 5 minutes with the person that orders stationery, right? Pretty terrible. Pretty traditional. What percentage conversion do you think that they would get to speak with the stationery person, the office manager? You know what? I was pretty blown away. They measured it. They got 30%. Right? Because it was pretty terrible. So we taught them this concept. And they worked away and workshopped it, right? And they came up with this question. They walked in, the two of them together, and went, guess who we are? Undercover cops, stationary salespeople, or detectives? And the person on reception turned around and went, I don't know. Undercover cops? Nah, we're just stationary salespeople. Don't suppose we can have 5 minutes with the person that orders stationery. What do you reckon their conversion went to? 70%. From one pattern interrupt question. So, so the whole system that we've built is built on pattern interrupt. And we fundamentally, so I'll take you through the 7 steps. We fundamentally believe that people do business with people that they like and trust. Do you agree that? So bonding and building rapport is the number 1 piece of our system. So when we look at relationships, which is key, building rapport is key, but then setting up rules so that we can be aligned and not have conflict is totally key, which is what an upfront contract is. It's an agenda where we get rid of all of those areas, combative areas of conflict, by setting up an agreement at the beginning to put on the table, what is the purpose? How long do we have? What is your role? What is my role? And what are the potential outcomes? And we agree that at the beginning to take care of the relationship. Yeah. From there, once we've built this platform of an amazing relationship, we can actually move into working out if it makes sense to do business or not, where we uncover and look at what are the reasons, and we call that the pain step. And pain is used quite commonly in a sales process, right? You hear it a lot. We look at it differently because we don't just want to know what's going on from a surface level. We actually want to understand what's truly happening at a business level. We want to truly, deeply understand what are the concerns, considerations, and the impact that's happening for someone at a business level. If we truly understand that, then we can also understand how that's impacting them personally. I was on a call the other day, and this guy was just saying to me, he was using all these really emotional, like, I'm so annoyed, frustrated at what's going on. When we can truly understand that, then we can work out if it is something we can fix or not. And if it's not, then we point them in a direction, and leaders is an incredible avenue for that, because we've got this panel of amazing experts in businesses that we can refer them to. So from pain, we then work out what their resources are to solve it. You know, what do they have? Do they have the right time? Do they have the right dollars? Do they have what they need to solve it? Or at least a part of it to get them on their journey. From there, we want to uncover what their decision-making process is for them to be able to work through the complexities of the decision. And the biggest thing we saw out of COVID was every single business changed their decision-making process. Do you guys see that as well? Budgets were slashed. So many more decision makers were brought into the process. And typically when it goes over about 6 people in the decision-making process, often the biggest competitor is do nothing. Yep, cool. Okay, so how much do you reckon we know about our client, a potential client at this point? A lot, right? Compared to our competition, a lot. So one would hope if we've really done the due diligence through that process, that we could actually create something for them that's going to fulfill on their needs. Otherwise, we should send them on their merry way. But by the way, how much time have we invested if we do that proper due diligence? Is it more or less, do you think, from that traditional way of investing all that time presenting? It's less, yeah. And we've got a beautiful relationship.
Bex, would you also have a relationship, a better relationship with them by
100%. You're building a totally better relationship as a result of that, and you're differentiating yourself in the sales process. Just like those guys did. I mean, even in a stationery company, what they realized was their product wasn't stationery, it was the relationship. Yeah? I mean, pens and pencils and stuff like that. You know, it was actually, they had 2 products. They have, you have my name, relationship, and we deliver 3 times a day. That was what they had, yeah.
Rebecca, is that the reason, having that change in the relationship, when you get a referral to somebody, do you think that referral is helping do that in the first place?
Yeah, because there's a couple of things that occurs with a referral. Obviously, bonding and building rapport, that trust is transferred from the other person. Yeah, that's right. But because of that, we're then able to go deeper into this and find out those differences.
So referrals, the old-fashioned referral is in fact, gold, isn't it?
It is gold, yeah.
It's very difficult to sort of get that from a web contact.
Well, it is difficult if you're not trained. Yeah, it's true. What's that? But it is, you're right. And it takes a huge amount of skill. I mean, like I'm being playful, right? But we had I'll tell you a story. We had a contact come in, and it was someone that contacted us, and we do not do responses via tenders. Like we have enough business that we just say no to that. And so it was a contact that came in, and actually they are one of the Pinder's an ex-unicorn company. And so when we looked at it, and I'll just give you an example of this playing out, because of our process where we do the due diligence through the process, we said, look, we normally say no to this. Because we said we normally say no and we won't even take you to the next step, they then went, okay, we really need you to come to the table with this. When I said, okay, well, for us to come to the table, these are the things that you're going to need to commit to do that. Because it was there was 4 competitors scenario, and I don't normally waste my time with that. So we won that piece of business, but only because we changed the rules at the beginning with the upfront contract. Yeah.
Question. So what about situations where the need decision maker is different to the budget decision maker?
Yeah, and it happens all the time, right? So we had that happen in that situation too, in the decision step. So if you go back to the decision step, what we do is we uncover the whole decision-making process and build a co-built plan through that process. So then when you're building that plan, the qualification in point is, am I comfortable that the people I am talking with are able to get this over the line, in which case I'm happy to move forward. If I'm not, I decide how much time I'm prepared to give them, or I qualify them out if I can't get those people to the table. There's the rules around that.
Or a multi-level seller.
Yeah, that's right. So, yep, you can do that for sure once you uncover it. It's a whole conversation, obviously. I've given you one.
They have procurement levels where people can make decisions on.
Say that again?
A lot of large companies have procurement levels of spend.
Yeah. So this is speaking from a viewpoint of speaking with the actual business decision maker. Procurement is another whole conversation. Yeah? It's another whole conversation.
A lot of people have budget authorities which they can engage.
Yes,
In terms of dollars.
it's true. That's right. But the thing that's occurred over COVID is that those budget dollars have reduced. Yeah. So there's no surprises that we deal about half a day on that whole decision step on its own. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. So that's the 7 steps. Tell me, I want to hear what you got out of that process versus the traditional selling process. What do you see that was different? Yeah.
It's very empowering for you
Yes.
as the business.
Yes.
As a seller, because it's almost like it's on your terms as well.
It is. And I playfully call it the dating move.
Oh, really?
Because we always want the thing that's a little bit hard to get, right? It is. Yeah, absolutely. What else do you guys get from the difference between those two systems?
Much more collaborative.
Yes.
Joining the buyer right all the way through the process.
Yes, it is. It's a co-built process. So we never do presentations. We actually say, we're going to build this together with you. It's going to be a draft, and we're going to workshop this together to create it. So we don't want to do it in isolation. Yes, it's very collaborative. Anything else you guys are getting?
The key word is alignment as well.
Alignment. Yeah, it's refreshing, right, too, isn't it? Yeah.
You're also eliminating, they can't do that they can't hold 4 or 5 relationships at the same time around that. So you're sort of, if you're adding value, you're eliminating the other party.
There's a technique that we teach in the in the budget step, which is called monkey's paw. It's a small deal to get a big deal. So when you do that in the process, like there was a client that came to me, and again it was competitive, three people they were talking with. In the process, I went, I don't know if it would make sense for you to put for you to have one person come and do some business with us. You know, it probably needs to be someone really senior. And the MD turned around and said, well, that would be me. So, you know, I got rid of the competition immediately then. Yeah.
So there's an implication that, what you said, you actually do, develop with them, or you don't present. Is there an implication they're investing time, so they're more committed because they have that time investment?
Yeah, absolutely. And also that we're going to equally choose to invest together as we go through it. So there were leaders. I've been in leaders for a long time, and I want to thank you, Rob, for everything that you provide through this network. It's incredible. Rob and, of course, Wendy. One of the great people that I met through the process of being in leaders in South Australia leaders is a guy called Eric. So Eric, who's flown in here to be a case study, just to talk a little bit about the experience of implementing a system in his business versus ad hoc, you know, what it's like when it's ad hoc. So he runs an incredible business. When I met him, I was like, wow, he helps people invest in pink diamonds. Now, I don't know about you, but back in 2000, there was a whole gold thing that happened, and I missed out. I was like, I have no idea how to buy a diamond, but I want to find out. So I found out about his business. I then became a customer, and then through the process I went, other people have got to know about this. I need to help you with sales so more people can find out. But I'd love you to just for Eric to come up and say a few words about... You got a couple.
Oh, good. Well, oh wow, I'm on stage. Well, listen. So what do I have to say? So Beck's right. I met her. We started working together a couple of years ago.
2 years ago now.
And what I found, I really love the system and the process, the step-by-step process, especially the upfront contract made a big difference for me. Because at the time, the issue I was having was I had really, I'd say more inconsistent results through the process of the traditional selling system. Or when, just talking to people and trying to build a business, it wasn't very consistent until, Beck came on board and started showing me this amazing process. And it's been interesting from the sense that I'm very process-driven and results-driven. And so for me, what I loved about it is that it was a step-by-step process, which I just walk along and follow the circle. And the biggest difference was the upfront contract, especially when it's almost grounding expectations as well, and makes it a smoother process for clients as well. Because sometimes I find that, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm in business, I'm doing a lot of work and kicking, and the client is wondering what's going on. And sometimes I just say that, if you are wondering what's going on, just let me know, but I am working hard. And these are small things that make a big difference in the upfront contract. So long story short, we started working together a couple of years ago. And through implementing those systems, I reckon we've done about 3.5 to 4 times our revenue from 2 years ago. Wow. Yeah, big difference.
Good question. If someone wants a pink diamond,
I got one for you right here.
The conversation would be so much simpler because you say, I want to invest in pink diamonds or an alternative asset class. Let's have a conversation. But what about people that don't know what they don't know? I didn't know anything about, I didn't even know what a pink diamond was until I met you in Adelaide. I mean, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Does that require a different process, or is that part of that?
It's the same process. All it is in the sales process, every process, whether it's a pink diamond or whether it's looking at an IT solution that you're implementing, there's a barrier in the sales process for anyone to buy. And all that needs to be identified is what are the barriers that we need to work through for our prospects. Same as your business as well, Rob, right? And so all we did...
Because we were talking about comparing, the process with a doctor's surgery, right, or more of a specialist. You go in, you sign, the form with the specialist, you deal with the reception. This stage you haven't met the specialist, so you assume that he's an expert in his field. Then you go in and he charges a lot of money to give you a bit of advice, and then you keep going back, right? And you maybe over time you develop a bit of a relationship about you and your health, and maybe even with him personally or him or her personally. But the point is that that's traded on scarcity or uniqueness.
Yes.
Big diamond, probably with scarcity, but unique.
Yes.
I guess how do you create that feeling of scarcity, which then creates that contract?
That's right. And that is actually the big challenge. But if you look at it, with the upfront contract, we're creating that. Because what's happening is we're creating it in all of our businesses then. Because I'm not going to hang out in this conversation unless it makes sense for both parties. Does that make sense? So we constantly create that through the process. Thank you.
That's right.
So I know that we're moving to close. Couple of things I wanted to just touch on, key takeaways for today. First of all, it's like, how do we even, where do we start with, say, breaking down the sales process? So I wanted to give you a start. Also, how do we then build a systematic process? So there is a step-by-step process that you can do. And I also wanted to give you a takeaway. So I've got a whole bunch of these, which go through that step-by-step process for anyone that would like. There's a pile here. And so obviously then that brings about the best practices, which we can then consistently tweak and implement, which then brings us consistent success. So without further ado, if there's any questions, I think we'll close out.
What we will do is, thank you very much, Rebekah.
Thanks.
Insightful and